Great.
Good,
All
good.
right.
Well, we've just gone live. Let me turn off this music. Yeah. And how are you today, young man?
Doing great. Doing great in yourselves.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good.
All right.
We're
All
pretty good. I won't complain.
right. No need
As
to.
the song says, I
No.
will not complain.
Yes, yes, yes.
Here comes our super fan. Linda's in the house.
Well, hey there, Linda. Linda.
Linda
Hello, my
May.
dear. Hello, my dear.
Linda Lee.
Glad you're with us today. Glad you're here with us today, Linda. Well, what you been up to? I saw some great topics that you've been preaching from.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Talked
Bring me
about
up to date.
enduring,
About what? Say that again.
enduring,
Enduring, and there was another one you did
uh, the crossover,
at cross
um,
currents,
overcoming
crossover, cross
storms,
currents. Yeah, yeah.
overcoming storms.
Was it crossovers and cross currents or?
Oh yeah, that was part of the overcoming storm series. Cross winds and cross currents.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah,
Very. I look like a ghost. My lord.
there you go.
Yes, I do. Yes, I
Well,
do.
what you gonna do?
I'm gonna turn some of this light off.
You had it right, but you turned it back on.
I did not. It just popped up.
You had it off,
I turned it off,
but there's something else
but
probably too on your head.
yeah, but that's okay. Oh well, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
I'll just show up as a ghost.
cut that thing off there. Cut
At
that
least,
off.
at least you're, at
Cut that
least
off.
you're really ghost.
Cut that off.
Holy Ghost, a
Like
Holy
the
Ghost,
Holy Ghost. There you
a
go.
Holy Ghost. That's it.
Cut that one off.
I just turned it off, baby. You want me to turn it off? Don't
Yeah.
look in it. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
that's so much better.
That didn't help me none. But anyway, it's all right.
He
You
he
say
looks
those.
like he looks like Santa Claus.
Yes, he
Oh
does. Yes, he does look like
no,
a
I
Santa
don't.
Claus. I tell you, we're Mr. and Mrs. Claus for real. And baby girl's one of the reindeers. Ah, yeah. So tell me what you preached yesterday.
Well, start a new series on the topic of enduring, patiently enduring, and so pretty much just trying to stay relevant, uh, dealing with the situations that people are going through,
Yeah.
um, and to just pretty much let them know. And it's funny that you mentioned the word complain because when we enduring, we're again dealing with the the obstacles that we're facing in life. We're persevering,
Hmm.
knowing without a shadow of doubt that there will be a beneficial end. Um,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
whole thing comes to a total end or a conclusion. And so I've been trying to encourage people because there's so many people that are dealing with some very difficult and challenging times. And what people are dealing with, it is all over the spectrum. So it's not just one particular thing. And so that is kind of a spinoff from the series that I did, Overcoming Storms. And
Yeah. That's
um,
good. That's
yeah,
good.
so it got very interesting. Started having some prophetic utterances that was made through the broadcast last night to encourage the people. The word miracles just became a dominant word, and pretty much I was just telling them
Hmm.
ready
Hmm.
for some supernatural manifestations and visitations within their lives.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Um, the other morning I got up. What was it day before yesterday? Got up early and to walk baby girl, and it was about I guess it was about 8, somewhere in that area, and I noticed it was really hazy outside. And the day before, my eyes were burning really bad, and I thought it was just my dry eyes or whatever. And it turns out that that was coming from the smoke that's now coming flowing down from New York, from Canada, uh, and all of that smog that's been coming into the country. And so I was looking at how all of that has caused New York to have to wear masks and stuff like that because of it. And it's the way the jet stream is flowing. It's now it's already reached us, and it probably will come back around because of the way the jet stream flows. But anyway, thinking about that, that's all these changes that are taking place in the atmosphere, and the changes that are taking place in our political the political arena, the changes that are taking place in the health system. uh, I was thinking about what happened with Jamie Foxx, and now they've got the rumors that Jamie Foxx has had a, a blood clot on his brain and is now blind and partially paralyzed. I don't know how true that is,
I didn't even hear that one.
but they are claiming that it's because of the COVID shot that he was demanded to take in order to work on this new project that he's working on. So I don't know. There's a lot of things like that happening. It's just so much. Those of us who have taken the vaccine, and then those who are afraid to take the vaccine. There's just so much controversy going
Mhm.
around all of us until now. I'm To live in this atmosphere of change is to come to a place where you no longer, I won't say listen to the news, because it's important that you hear what's happening, but not at the same time to saturate yourself with it.
Exactly.
But it's important to distance yourself from the urgency of all of it.
Hmm.
And how to do that is to remain as the observer, remain as that is aware of all of the feelings that are rushing through you, all of the thoughts that are rushing through you. And so it's important now, the message that we have embarked on, this journey of finding ourselves without the ego, finding ourselves as that true self that we are, versus the constructed self that we have lived in all our lives. And so now it's like going back to when I was a child. There was what they call the American dream. I think the American dream is still alive. However, America itself has completely changed. And so because of that, the dreams have changed. I remember my generation would work to in one place until retirement. That is no longer happening for people. And then there's a lot of people. I talked to some of our neighbors just last week. Their children, who are now adults, have all come back home
Hmm.
because of the different ways that jobs are done now, the way everything is done in the business world. Those who have gone to college and universities come out and can't use what they've gotten degrees for, and they end up back home with their parents as adults. And so it's altogether different. And so it's almost like we've got to come to a place where we stop trying to figure out what is the norm,
Hmm.
and let whatever we thought was the norm, let it go. So that, because I don't know what the new norm is.
No, no one
It's
knows.
very fluid,
Hmm.
and it's very flexible.
Excuse me. I know what the norm is.
What is the norm?
Armstrong.
That's norm one.
I knew you was going to say that.
The
So I'm the norm, eh? I'm the norm.
norm
You will
down.
always be the norm. You will
It's
always be
funny.
the
North
norm.
to
It's
Alaska.
funny. I play with that sometimes.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
name. So,
Yeah. So
but
anyway, I'm just kind of rambling on. But anyway, Deb's just popped in. Hey, Deb, I'm glad you're here, sweetheart.
it's
Yeah.
funny that you did say that because we just found out the early part of this week, of course, with my our granddaughter, Shay Shay, and then Shannon there, and I've been telling others there is a spreading of strep throat. in
I've
our
heard
area.
that as well.
Yeah,
Yes, I've heard
there's
that as well.
so my daughter and my granddaughter both have it.
Hmm.
I've talked to some other people here recently, not even mention them. Oh yeah, so and so have stress, and I'm like, what is going on? So it's like when you was talking about the smoke that's coming down from Canada from
Hmm.
the forest fires I had mentioned. It's like we have to put back on our masks again and stuff
Hmm.
because we
Yeah.
don't know what's going on.
Well,
And
and yeah, and those the smoke this time is full of toxins,
mhm,
simply because it's burning buildings, and all of those things are going into those particles are going into the air. So
mhm.
yes, you're right. You're right.
So it is a very interesting time, but this is where, and I love what you said about not trying to pinpoint or figure out the new
What's the
norm
new norm?
right now.
Hmm.
There is no
Hmm.
new norm. There is no particular trend that we could identify. There are so many things that's happening at one time, and so
Hmm.
this is where we're going to have to not only rely on our spiritual enlightenment, but we also have to rely on our human natural ability to adjust and adapt. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
we know that a lot of people do not love change. They don't even embrace change. They're just happy with one way, and that's it. Well, in order to survive and thrive with all that's going on right now, you're going to have to adapt. You're going to have to make some adjustments in your life, and it don't mean that. And what it what's so amazing about it is it won't be a long period of time. Like you'll make an adjustment, and that would be the thing for a long period of time. We're dealing with just unexpected changes that's happening
Yeah.
almost daily.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I agree with you that we should not allow ourselves to be alarmed, but we could be certainly aware of all that's going on. And when you mentioned about watching the news, I mentioned that a while back when the pandemic had hit. That's what everybody was doing. We was all watching the news, seeing it,
Hmm.
see what was
Hmm.
going on, and it came a point where I literally did have to pull away from it.
Yes, and even watching the news, even that now you don't know which news is right, is true. What news is true? And so there's nothing really to put your trust in. You
Mhm.
can't put your trust in the government. You can't put your trust in the news. You can't put your trust in any of the things that we've lived by all our lives. And so now it goes back to and you talked about it on Tuesday, the inner wisdom, the inner
Mhm.
wisdom, and that has to come from arise from within you, the intuition to live and to know what steps to take, what steps not to take steps or not. So it's another way of living. It's not living by certainty. It's not living by I am sure that this is the way it's gonna be, because that's no longer the way it is. So it because everything is so fluid, uh, and everything is fluid. I mean, even the genders are fluid. Everything is fluid.
Mhm.
So we must adapt, and the only way to adapt is not to try to find what anything that we can rely on outside of ourselves, but to realize that that permanence that we're looking for is only inside of us, only in our inner selves.
Exactly. It's funny that you say that because I had a gentleman call me 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, 2 weekends ago, and we was having a conversation, and it was dealing with ministry, and again, all that's going on in the trends, and he spoke a word to me that actually he was actually hitting the nail on the head, um, because of I have wrestled with the thing of trying to fit into a certain pattern.
Okay.
And now you could tell that there's really no pattern. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
through
Mm-hmm.
my journey,
Mm-hmm.
especially in ministry or in the Christian world, I never fit in. I tried so many different times
Mm-hmm.
to fit in, oftentimes to feel like an outcast. Um, and I just went with it. And so now I'm at a particular stage in my life. I'm at a crossroad, and because of how ministry has shifted, because
Mm-hmm.
of the pandemic, I've been trying to figure out ways to continue. And he
Yeah.
said something to me. He said, Norm, you're looking for something to fit in or a pattern to follow. But when it comes to you, there is no pattern. That's where now you have to be a pioneer.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Mm-hmm.
was funny that he said that because
Mm-hmm.
that was a word that was echoing within me for some time now. I just
Yeah.
have to do
Yeah.
something new. And
And
I
and and that's good because I think the only way now in this time that we're living in, the only way to really, I won't say just survive, but to actually flourish is to not so much conform and try to live by the old patterns which are now dissolving, but to find that true authenticity that we have as a unit, as an individual, and maximize that.
Mhm.
It's like all of this time we've been trying to fit in. Now it's time to allow your differences and distinctness to really come out and dare to be different,
Mhm.
because that being different is where your next chapter is.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And it's funny because a word that came up in Hebrews chapter 10, I think around verse 32, as I started this new series, Endure, it talked about remembering the former days when you was once illuminated or you went through a spiritual enlightenment,
Mm-hmm.
that you endured, but you became a gazing stock.
Mm-hmm.
That word gazing stock simply means that you're now being watched or gazed at by many people
Yes.
with curiosity and some with contempt. And so
Yes. Yes.
that thing had hit me because I'm like, what's going on with the ministry that I am the overseer of. They're all eyes. Everybody's wondering what is going to be the outcome of bowl and
Mm-hmm.
so forth. And it's weird because I'm not even thinking like that. I'm actually enjoying the process. I'm enjoying the ride. And
Mm-hmm.
again, is I can't pinpoint things, but it has been exciting to me and very interesting.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so
Yes.
it's funny that a lot of people are really like, um, we don't know what to do.
And the vision is still developing. The pitch, it's like the old photographs we used to take with the cameras, the Kodak cameras.
Mhm.
You take a picture and then you had to wait when you pull that film, that paper out. You
Polaroid.
had to wait until it, yeah, the Polaroid, and you had to wait until it developed. And so it's like you have a vision, but it's still developing. And so you're not real clear as to exactly what Bowl's mission is, but you do know Bowl has a mission because you have the vision. And so
Mhm.
Linda said this. I wanted to put up what she said. She said, I was thinking about how Moses parted the Red Sea. I think because everything is consciousness, Moses just switched up the dream like Jesus did with the storm. They changed the outside appearances.
Very
That's
true.
that's like going to the bank and you get a check cash,
What you got in your mouth?
some of your sugar. Um,
Uh-oh.
mm,
You go ahead and try to talk with whatever that is in
she
your
asked
mouth.
for that. Um, you
Going to
go in
the
the
bank.
bank, you be still, and if you use the eyes and the color of Jesus' eyes, excuse me, that you really are, you exchanging energy. The energy of the check is one consciousness or color, and the money they're getting ready to give back to you is another color. That's why they look at it up in the light to see if it's a real. They look at it in the light to see if it's changing colors. The bill is supposed to remain one color. It's not supposed to change from orange, green, or red. If it's one color, that they think they're looking at whether it was a real or false dollar bill.
Counterfeit. Yep.
Counterfeit. The true colors of God are not counterfeit. We take, when I was in arts and crafts, you can take different colors to make the change, because you probably know that, into a color that's totally different. It's like with 6 colors, 10 colors, whatever it is. I forgot what it was, but you can mix those colors and cross them up and create a color.
Yeah.
But there's one color, like I never thought that.
Like yellow and blue make green.
Yeah, primary
Red and
colors.
blue make
There you go. That's what I was going to tell you. There's 5. I think there's 5 primary colors. That all the other colors are.
Yeah. That's just like I picked that up on arts and crafts. So when I was in the arts and crafts in school, the arts teacher, Miss King, she put me in the front of the church. I mean, church.
You got church brain.
You look like church, really.
You got church brain, man.
She put me out in the front of the class because I would draw with a pencil. Like if I wanted to draw you on the screen now, I could look at you and keep looking until I draw exactly what you look like. But the energy of that is put into the paint end of the brush, and your heart is made out of those primary colors.
Mm-hmm.
And each event that passed through you, or you pass through it, it changes colors, and it makes sure that the main color is always in the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Red, yellow, orange, golden, blue, rainbow colors and all that.
Mm-hmm.
You can take, there's a light black, medium black, black, and just black as it can be. And so,
where are you going? You done made this.
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna work something now. And when I looked at Jesus' eyes, his eyes was the spectrum of everybody, every color in the universe. Mm-hmm. And yet I was looking at him like I was looking at somebody who had real deep set eyes and the ridge of the nose, almost like Greeks, you know. But his eyes, when I looked at him, I didn't see what you call the movement of the retina and all that in there. I could see this thing here.
Don't get sidetracked now.
Look. She, every time I'm talking, she'll come up.
But don't get sidetracked.
This color spectrum is what we're made out of. And there's one color in his eyes. When you see it, it will reflect your eternal essence in that color. It is called your totem. It is called your birth symbol. It is called your channel of consciousness that you use to move through dimensional travels to be everywhere at one time. And each part of you that is everywhere at one time is a different spectrum, a different color. So when you finally move all the way in, deeper into the universe, you'll start hearing the colors talking to you like music. Each note, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then you go into F, J, K, S, T, U, V, and all that stuff. You get all of that in the alphabet. There's a note, there's a color, there's a sound, and a vibration. Scientists have discovered that you can take 2 objects and put them at the same vibrational frequency, and they'll pass through each other.
Mm-hmm. And all of this is said for what?
I don't know.
What are you? I'm trying to figure out where you're going with it.
I don't know. I just took off.
Yeah, you did. You took off.
Well, y'all was talking about something.
We were talking about something. I don't remember what it was now. But anyway, Lila said this. She says, like a movie on the screen, Moses. Jesus changed.
Oh, that's Moses. Okay.
Jesus changed the script because of who they knew they were and had dominion over the earth. We need this skill. And then she says primary colors: yellow, red, blue.
Yeah.
Secondary colors: orange, purple, green. Mix
Yeah.
them all together, and you get brown.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's
I
that.
think the only one that's really on tune with what you're seeing and saying on this wavelength is Linda.
Thank you, baby girl. You are a sweetheart. You know, hey, you come. Hey, you tough as they always saying. You tough as a water plug. You,
Yeah.
baby, you tough.
Mhm.
You know water hydrant. You used to call them water plug. And if you hit one with a car, you ain't gonna hurt the plug. You're gonna tear your car up
Yeah.
because they are deep in the ground. You're pretty deep today, Miss Linda. You're right there with me, girl. You know what? I believe me and you came from the same. We came from the same tree.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think so.
I know why you tuning into us now. You used to be my sister in one life, and then I used to be your daddy, and then you used to be my mama, and then that was once upon a time, and then you was married to each other, and then we separated, divorced, and went to another dimension, come back. Now we're on the telephone talking to each other. Or
Telephone.
telephone, yeah. Leave that alone. Um, we on the television talking to each other. We on the online. We've been through all kinds of evolution, you and I, and all the rest of them on there. And that's the reason why we can talk this old crazy talk and crazy people understand it.
Now,
Yeah.
you know what you just explained, right?
What did I do?
The, the multiverse.
Oh,
Oh
really?
Lord, there we go.
Doctor
There he done
Strange.
jumped in
That's
there.
Doctor
Yeah,
Strange.
yeah. But that's what he just did because
I
in,
like
in,
this stuff.
in each dimension, you are doing something different. It's
I
still
like,
you, but it's something you're doing something different, or
yeah,
you're playing a different role in each dimension. And
Hmm.
so when you describe at one point you and Linda was probably
yeah.
brother and sister, and
Hot
another
dog.
dimension, y'all
Yeah,
probably right.
yeah.
That you're
Mhm.
describing a multiverse.
Once a time we had 25 children.
Oh Jesus.
Oh
No.
Lord. And somebody was wore out, I tell you that.
No, we were supernatural beings. We didn't worry about that. Hey,
Yes.
hey, we are the only one that can make a white cow give chocolate milk.
No, honey, that's not how it goes.
Well, that's where I want to
That's
go.
not how it
It
goes.
is brown cow, brown milk. I know how it goes. Miss Linda know too. She can tell
What
you about it.
what you been drinking today?
I don't
I
know.
got something in this cup, boy. Don't you mess with this.
He's
He
It's
is
permanent
wild up
kryptonite.
today.
out there.
It'll make
Out
Superman stop in his track
there.
and freeze.
Well, I don't I'm like Linda. I think that we do need that skill to be able to create a better dream. However, we must never forget that it is a dream that we're creating.
Mhm.
And so to live our lives without
I hear you.
without thinking that the illusion is real is what awakening is.
Mm.
You'll see the illusion. You'll see that is not real. You'll still hear the news, but there will be less of a response or reaction to it, because you realize it's still a part of the dream. You will see the things that take place in your personal life, the challenges that come up. And yes, there will be responses that you'll have, but it won't be the same type of reactions that there once was, because you realize it is simply a dream. And the this I think I said it on Tuesday night. We are powerful creators, the same as God, because we are the same as God. And but our creations are impermanent. They're temporal. They come into being and then they deteriorate. That's why everything we see in this realm where we live, we've created it with our magnificent creation abilities. However, they don't last.
Mhm.
Nothing in this world lasts. So
But
we can create a better dream. We can create all kinds of things,
but
but there will be no permanence except that permanent identity that we are.
Now,
And go ahead.
I love that you said that because right before you started that statement, I was reminded of what the Lord said in Genesis chapter 11 when he looked upon man and he said, "Nothing that they imagine will be restrained from them."
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, whatever they dreamed, whatever they conjured up, they had the ability to make it
To
their
do it.
reality.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
we do. We do. But
Mhm.
there's also a scripture I saw just yesterday when we know we think about when we can create our own wealth, we can create our own success, we can create whatever it is we desire. But there's a scripture in, I think it's in Ecclesiastes, where it talks, or Psalms, one or the other, where it talks about, don't think that because you've gotten wealth that you did it by your own abilities,
Abilities, right?
but
Hmm.
it is God that gives you the power to get
Hmm.
wealth. It
Hmm.
is God that gives you the power to get that you desire.
I believe that's in Deuteronomy.
Yeah, Deuteronomy, that's right.
Deuteronomy.
That's right.
There was
I think
a
it's
tent
8:18.
revivalist years ago when we started out, before we met any of you guys in the physical world. Uh, A. Allen Revival Tents Crusades.
Mhm.
And A. Allen laid hands on a lot of pastors and imparted into them the gift of riches and wealth. These pastors during that time started getting airplanes, uh, complex of houses, real estate, bank accounts moving. They got thousands of dollars, and some of them shipwrecked with that because they didn't know how to. They didn't back during that time. They didn't. It wasn't any talk about the ego like it is now.
Right, right.
So they took everything to be okay because they were never taught how to separate. Uh, there is a place of separation, and I heard one prophetic guy told me one time. He said, out of First John, it said, "Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirit to see whether they be of God or not." And in his book, he said he broke it down to an esoteric, plain meaning expression. He said, "Brothers and sisters, believe not every thought, but separate the thoughts to see whether they be of God or other people projections, or just things floating around. Discern the thought means separate the thought to see where they come from." And with that, his name was Virgil Johnson during that time. I wanted to get with him and spend time with him to catch on to more of the way he was, because he could actually, he called it stretching, expanding the spirit when he was ministering to people. And he never did do it around us that much, but I knew that what he was talking about, he could do it. So it'll become second nature to us to operate in the wisdom of God. So what we're talking about in the wisdom of God is we create with colors and vibrational frequencies, but there is one thing in this dimension that we in that does, even though we create other things, there's one part of the creation that never ceased to exist, and we don't have to keep creating it, but it was never really created, and that's us.
That is the
But you
us
have
that
to
we are.
go, you have to be willing to when Jesus died at the cross, that was symbolizing the death of the ego. That was the death of separation, that was called the fallen sin of man, supposedly in Genesis, the fall of man. So when the book said the voice of God walked in the cool of the evening, in my note here, I wrote down, God is your voice speaking to you as him and you as God. God's voice is all of us speaking at once. So when God spoke on the Damascus Road to Apostle Paul, and the rest of them thought it was just like thunder and all that stuff, that was us speaking. When you go all the way
The
in collective,
the
yeah.
collective.
When, say, for instance, if you're sitting there and the Lord would speak, or the Spirit would intuitorize a statement to your head, that same intuition is speaking all over the universe, but everybody's ear of the Spirit is not trained. So in the spirit body, the celestial essence body, it is the voice of God. Our eternal self is God, God's voice. So that's whenever you see him on in that invisible world, which is made visible to the eye of the intuition. Some people call it the third eye. You will actually be able to go back to your original communication. Our original communication is not with words moving our mouth, but it is the whole state of being that speaks presence. It's like seduction. When you look at a lady or a man, you can see seduction. You know what it is. That's the beginning of telepathic communication, empathicness, um, identified with the vibrational energy around people. The world has captured that, and they seem that some people in the world seem to think that that's a dark entity like Satan and Lucifer. But it said here in the Bible, here in the book, it said Jesus perceived the thoughts of people's hearts, and then it said in another place he heard their thoughts. He
Yeah.
knew what they were thinking,
And
but
he knew
knowing
the
their
intents of
thoughts.
it. Hmm.
Uh-huh. And I studied that a lot because that was the way I found out how to recognize God's communicating intuitively 24/7. When Samuel heard the voice of God, he thought it was his daddy's calling him, but it wasn't. His daddy told him to go back and said, when the voice speak again, say, Lord, I'm here, your servant, here you are, is here. Um, One of the things I picked up on in with some of the mentors is that when I used to be in the services and I prophesied, my mentor would come up behind me and said, it looks like you're talking to the audience, but no, he said, you're talking to yourself. That's a prophetic word coming out of your mouth. So it's like words come out and turn into your ear. But your middle ear is the ear that the doctors put me in and aware of more when we start getting into what do you call it, vertigo. Um, that inside your ear, these rocks, it's called rock and rollers. They move around in your head, in your ears. They help keep you balanced. And when you find some people I run across that when they vertigo hit them real strong, they'll have to sit down in the floor and hold on until it leaves. And sometimes when I've been over, the rocks are moved. Sometimes they're not rocking and rolling like they're supposed to. So we get on America Got Talent and America Got Music. You know, we get on there, we'll sing, get them rocks together, boy, we'd be rocking and rolling. But that. Well, so what happens when a person get high on alcohol or drunk in the spirit? Their rocks are rolling, they're moving. That is an indication that you are stepping into a non-interpretation realm that has nothing to do with this side of communication, and you can spend so much time in that realm where it'll be hard for you to live over here in this fantasy a dream world because you are in your home place.
Now, can we jump in?
Oh yeah, I'm through.
Linda wants to know what scripture that was you quoted, Norman.
That was Genesis chapter 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Marvita, hey sweetheart, she says, as a man thinks, so is he. And I wanted to tweak that just a little bit. Yes, we say that, but it goes a little further. It said, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So that's in the subconscious area of a man, not so much in the conscious
Right.
self-concept
So
of a
that was
person.
true for all thoughts. That means that the thought you're having right now, or seeing
Yes.
somebody having an accident,
Yes.
or seeing a bird fall
Yeah.
down out the sky, and you be
So
imagining
every
running
thought
wild.
we have isn't a creation.
So that's what I meant when I say separate the thoughts.
And so that's why I often say that thoughts really have no power of themselves.
But it uses us.
But there is a believer in every one of us. And I remember the story I read years ago about a man who hypnotized this lady who was in his house. And he hypnotized her and he told her, when I finish this, when I snap my fingers, you're not going to see anyone else in this room. So he
Mhm.
did that. And when he did it, of course, in her thinking, in her conscious mind, she could not see anyone. She was the only one in the room. So he picked up a book and walked across the room with that book in his hand. And what she saw was a book floating in the air.
Mhm.
There's a believer in every one of us, but I dare say this, and I mentioned this sometime back. We knew a young lady and a couple who were believing for a child. They wanted a child so bad.
Mhm.
They were believing, they were using their faith, they were confessing,
That's when we're in the
they
big
were
building.
speaking it into existence. And true enough, this young lady started to show the symptoms. She
She
had
did. We
every
witnessed this.
symptom of being
Mhm.
pregnant, even had no monthly menstrual cycle. Her stomach grew. She had morning sickness, but she stayed like that for years.
And they go to the
and
doctor,
there was no baby.
and the doctor said she was not pregnant.
So her believing brought her to a point of having all of the symptoms, but the dream never came true. The only way the dream will come true is if you actually conceive. So in order to conceive, you have to become the person that is that. Not so much drawing the thing to you, not so much manifesting the thing, but becoming the person that has the thing. And let me see if I can break that down. In order, and I'm going to use a something that's outside of our range. In order for me to become a millionaire, if I desired that, I can't start affirming that I have millions of dollars and it happened. I can't start confessing it. I can't pray for it and make it happen. I can only be the person that is a millionaire.
Exactly.
That means my whole conception of myself must become that. Does that make sense?
It makes a whole
So
lot of
it's
sense.
not trying to get that external thing to change. It's changing here. The concept that's here in this form. I must see myself as that.
Mhm.
And that has to not just be a desire and a wish. I have to truly see myself to the point that there's only that book floating across the room. There's no man in the room. I've got to go to that point. So, and you taught this years ago, and you called it George. There's a guard at the door of our subconscious.
Oh, George.
There's a guard at the door of our subconscious.
Give your subconscious
so
a name.
consciously, I can say, I believe I have millions of dollars, but the guard at the door of the subconscious is blocking that thought from going in and it being conceived. And it can only be conceived in the subconscious, which is the lower mind, which I call the womb that receives the seed. And so that George begins to block that, because I can say, I believe I have millions of dollars, and all of a sudden a thought comes up in my mind behind that says, but you only got $2 in your bank account.
Mm-hmm.
It cancels out that confession. So the guard we call George has to be bypassed.
Mm-hmm.
And he can only be bypassed.
It was like that angel in the garden that protected them from getting back in there.
Exactly.
Exactly.
He has to be bypassed. So the George has to be tricked. And that's what happened in when Neville Goddard talks about Isaac and his brother, and he stole the birthright.
Yeah.
By putting the fur on his arm.
Yeah.
And he fooled the blind father.
Yeah. Yeah, he sure did.
He had to fool him and make him believe that he was the actual person.
But it's funny though, because we seem to forget that, especially when it comes to sacred books, because it's not just the Bible. There's other sacred books where names were very important because it actually described the person's character. And so Jacob, his name literally meant supplanter. So all he was doing was carrying out his character as a trickster.
Exactly.
That's all he was doing, fulfilling what he was named.
So that's important what you just said. You have to get in character.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get in character to actually cause the creation.
Now it's a flip side to the thing with the millionaire thing. When you made the statement about you have to become or be that thing, or and so that actually explains why there are so many people who they say they won the lottery and they won millions of dollars. All right,
Mhm.
do that make them a millionaire? And
Mm-mm.
I have to say the answer is no, because there are situations where people have won millions of dollars and within a very short time they lost it all
Exactly. Yeah.
because they were not a millionaire. So
Yes.
you
Yes.
having something don't necessarily make you it.
And then the way they lost it was the thoughts that canceled out that millionaire concept, because
Mhm,
they had thoughts that made them go in a direction to make them lose it. I
mhm.
remember I read years ago, there was a book we had about, gosh, I can't remember the name of it now, but we often hear people say this in church, and you can bear witness to this. I believe I can receive $1 million. I thank God.
I believe I
I'm
received a
ready. I'm
million.
ready for it. And this
I can do
lady,
all things.
she believed for $1 million and actually got it. But when she got it, she couldn't believe it, and it shocked her to the point that she had a heart attack.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, there's so we're talking about the technicalities of that now,
Mhm.
but there's also this aspect of us, this part of us, or this me that I am, that is not even interested in trying to create a million, because it is already whatever that millionaire is.
Mhm.
I must find that one. And I said this to you, and I said this because we live this life as well as you do. The only difference in a person who has $1 million in his bank and the three of us is he has the $1 million in his bank,
Mhm.
because we get up when we want to, we
Mhm.
go to bed when we want to. We work when we want to. We rest when we want to. We can do whatever we choose to do. The only difference is he has it in the bank.
Exactly.
So the millionaire mind, or the millionaire life, is already here and existing.
Which you just proved the fact again. Attachments do not define who we are.
It doesn't.
And that's what people got to get. And I'm gonna have to say this even in the church, because I'm seeing this thing, and many people are seeing it again. What people consider the success of ministry, or even now not success of ministry, what they actually consider ministry.
Yes.
And it's all about having stuff, and that's not
Always.
ministry at all.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep,
Because we have had too much evidence of people who have it all and they're still miserable.
exactly.
So that doesn't bring you happiness.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me tell you something. It happened back when we wasn't too long after we got married. We went to one of our mentors was Bishop Patterson, and
G.E. Patterson. Yes,
No,
no,
not
that's a
him.
different one.
I am
This is
This is
FD.
FD.
FD Patterson. Okay.
Yeah,
FD Patterson. Yeah.
and he was at the time in Winston Salem the only church that was called a prophetic church,
A very vibrant
and
prophetic church.
the guys that were going uptown preaching on the street in front of the stores, the owners and the managers of stores uh, started a big ruckus in the court and in the law that
Mhm.
in order for them to preach in front of a building or on the street, they had to get a permit.
Mhm.
Well, at the church we were going to became very popular, and Bishop Patterson somehow or another reached them somehow, and all of them come in. Some of the main ones that were preaching on the street, and so we had just got with him, maybe it was a matter of months, and the Lord woke her up and said to her, I wasn't hearing him like she was during that time. and he said he was going to begin to manifest himself. So they were having a evangelistic service or a church service on a Saturday night,
Mhm.
and Bishop Patterson asked me to speak that Saturday night. Now, let me tell you, I've experienced this many times. Uh, I didn't understand what it meant for Jesus to be coming down the stairs at night and us looking at him standing in a room. He would come down the stairs the same way I did, took the same steps, and made the same turns. And we're standing there, both were looking at him through the wall, the veil open
This is when we both had the experience of seeing Jesus. And
together.
yeah, and we stayed in my upstairs of my mom's house when
Mhm.
we first got married, and so every night you would come down
Mhm. It was
and
big, it was a pretty big
and
house.
go under the stairs where I built a prayer closet,
Mhm.
and he would go in there. So
Yeah.
Jesus mimicked that
Yeah.
movement,
He was
coming
doing
down the stairs.
everything that
We
I
saw
was
that.
doing.
Yes, yes.
And so when he went in, and then I do the same thing now. But here's the clue. He stood there, and one miraculous event took place after another. We finally got our first house,
Mobile home.
12 by 60 mobile home.
Mhm.
The zoning board was not approved for that
inner city,
for the inner
and
city.
we were able to put it in the
I
city.
went and saw the
Zoning.
zoning board and
Yeah.
Carl Russell,
Mhm.
and he was on that board, and he approved of us to put that house behind her mother and father's home.
Yeah.
And my point is this: in that service, people were lined up, coming in from out the door, and every one of them that would come up, I could actually know where they came from, what they did in the back seat of the car in detail. It was then that I began to experience. Now we're talking about millionaires, and I'm talking about beingness.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually, and I wish I could say it like the impact of it is working now. There is a place where the ebbing and tiding, we call it anointings,
Mm-hmm.
pouring forth oil like they did in the Old Testament to anoint a particular office. Sounds a little bit egoic, but at the same time, it is an authentic experience.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's what I experienced that night. In order for this to work in fullness, I had to let Jesus become me, and I had to be him. I experienced beingness
Mm-hmm.
of the Christ
Mm-hmm.
Jesus identity so strong, I could do everything
Mm-hmm.
being him that he did in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
And that was
That's
the
right.
spearhead of the investigation into Galatians 2:20. Now, on the cross, I run across people who actually had the stigmata to actually appear in their hands of the nail prints and the imprints around their head. Some of the pastors consider that to be demonic. That's all. Look, when you start waking up to your true identity, you will be finding out that you have never ever been anything else in your true identity but a Christ.
Mm-hmm.
You've always been that Christ, whether you know Jesus by reading, studying, somebody telling you, laying on hands, or prophesied to, spoken over, had a vision,
Yeah.
dreams. And let me tell you something:
Because
visions and dreams are wiped out
yeah,
by beingness.
because being that Christ
That
is
Christ.
there's a point inside of each person, each being, I should say, each sentient being that we are. There's a certain point where God and man meet,
Yeah,
and they
I
become
experienced that.
one.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to find that spot, um, but it's there. And if once it's found, you take on the life of
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ. You
Mm-hmm.
do it without consciously thinking, I am Jesus, with a halo and all of that. There is still the awareness, as Jesus said, when you've seen me, you've seen the Father.
Father.
So when you've seen me, you've seen Jesus Christ. It's the same spot.
I could look out in the audience and I could see a light being angel. At certain person, he would point his finger, said, "This one next, that one over there next." When I, Pastor Norman, when I ministered to your grandmother,
I
that
remember that.
yeah, you remember that that consciousness. Let me tell you how strong that consciousness can be.
It's strong. It's strong.
It can actually go inside of a knee or heart and replace it and regenerate it, rebuild it while you're standing there.
Yeah.
I used to watch Ernest Angeli, who was
And-
a healing preacher.
And it can cause all kinds of provisional
Yeah,
miracles
yeah.
to take place
Materialize
around
right
you.
in front of your face.
Yes,
Mhm.
around you. When it's been said, absolutely no, you cannot do this.
Mhm.
It will completely eradicate all of those
But my
no's.
mentor kept me, which what you would say, kept me obey under restrictions because he said it stirred up something in him that made it look like I was in competition with him because I was doing as a young person, young minister, what the rest of them, all 7 or 8 of them, wasn't doing, and I didn't ask for that with my words, but it was the grace.
But you slipped into the
I
consciousness.
slipped over that in that
you
vehemence.
found that sweet spot.
Grace did.
Yes.
I like that.
And when I slipped over there, I slipped in. I hit a switch, and that's when I began to study. Deliberately go to services where people who did these things, I watched how they did it.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to say this because I think finding that sweet spot comes only when you have practiced bypassing the conscious mind.
Yeah. I didn't know how to do it, but I did it.
You must practice bypassing the conscious mind. However, whatever exercise you do, meditation, whatever. In his case, in our case, it was praying in the spirit or praying in tongues.
Until being still in a closet
without doing anything.
Just sitting there
without any external stimulus, without even light.
In other words, you give your senses a break and a rest.
Exactly. Shut out from the senses. So a lot of times when people say, I'm going to go to God about this, I'm going to go to the Lord and I'm going to spend time alone with God, what they're actually saying is they're going to take a break from their senses.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to shut down their senses,
give it a break,
and go into absolute stillness and nothingness. So that whatever intuition needs to arise can arise.
Exactly.
And at that point, the mind will fight you like a cat.
Well, that's what happened to our mentor. He jumped into that fighting mode with me, and we had a battle with him because I had to end up leaving. And when somebody,
he became your enemy, kind of like
he did. He sure did.
Like in what was it, David and
Goliath, or
David and
Saul. David and Saul.
David and Saul.
David and Saul.
And to the point that he hated it.
Really.
Yeah.
That's what happened to
David hated it.
And this mentor was a prophetic man, and we had what was called up in the dome of the church. You go up these swirling stairs up in the dome. We had a class up there called up in that dome, the School of Prophets.
Yeah, the School of Prophets.
And all those of us that felt that we were in that prophetic area of seeing and hearing and smelling, we all sat there. And his son took over the ministry, but I don't think he's into it like his father.
He's not.
I used to eat lunch with him for a long time, but he's not into that. But our lineage never left the beingness of Jesus. I'm telling you, I
and
experienced him as being totally
yeah,
us.
yeah. But I have to say this, that this is not a message for the weak
No, it's not.
minded,
No.
because there are some who would take this and try to incorporate it into their lives and really lose their minds.
That
Lose their minds.
But that goes
And I
back
think that's what the churches or some of the pastors have been afraid of.
exactly. I was going to say that. Yep. And
Hmm.
and you could see it now. I just watched something right after I did my broadcast last night. I watched, and now you're seeing, because of them trying to, you have some that have awakened and some that have not. Now there's a big war going on in the
Yeah.
midst of all of them. And I watched this particular preacher um, make mention of some predominant, well-known preachers, and pretty much called them devils and so forth. And so again, at the end of the day, we build this consciousness where we think we're the only one that's right,
Hmm.
where we don't understand this accumulation. Because when Dad was talking about the school of the prophets, just now, with as he was coming up with Patterson, we need to ask ourselves this question: what's the purpose of the school of the prophets? What is the purpose of it? Because
Hmm.
if I'm part of a school of the prophets, say Dad he's the head of the school of the prophets. I'm one of the mentees or pupils. Obviously, through him training me, teaching me, he's going
Hmm.
to activate something in me.
Yes.
And upon that activation, now guess what? You just birthed me into something.
Hmm.
So now I have to carry that out. And so there
Hmm.
are a lot of these leaders that think just having something like the school of the prophet, okay, you will teach all the people and you're not going to activate and expect them to go forth to do something.
Right. Right.
And see,
Right.
that's what we're missing it. We want to hold on to people. Now, I understand the training and the educating and stuff that's necessary. But at
Hmm.
the same time, if you're teaching me how to play football, you expect me to go play football. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so well, a lot of people do not understand, especially because of their institutionalizing the church.
Yes, and I want to say this too, that these phases, I call them phases, because nowadays, you know, we here in the West, we're all about creating, and that's where this film and the book The Secret got real popular. We're all about creating, and yes, there are very good teachers regarding that. We went through the phase of the faith movement when, well, we would speak things into existence. We manifested all kinds of things, and yes, you can do that. But when we were faced with the truth that there is an ego that wants to manifest,
Mhm.
that's when it turned for us, because it became more important for us to maintain our, what's the word I'm looking for, our honor of the union.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
The honor of the union became more important to us than having stuff and having things and manifesting. Yes, we still wanted all those things, and we did create a bunch of stuff. We anyway, we've had all of that. But it's important, it's almost impossible to start on the journey of no ego and at the same time manifest your dream. It's almost impossible. In fact, you remember, and you've talked about it so many times, what Dad said to you, in order for, if
Oh, in order for me to be successful at bowl, I would have
you have to
to,
go back to sleep.
yeah, I would have to go back to sleep and instantaneously. And see, that I'm glad you brought it, because instantaneously, without any thought of what he said. That's the thing. That's the part when I look back that shocked me, because when he said that, I didn't respond. I immediately, just not even a second, started crying.
Yeah, I
He
remember.
literally started crying and
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
I don't want to go back to sleep.
Yeah. But we forget Jesus was the example of what it meant to walk an egoless life and at the same time walk in his total God identity. He was the
Hmm.
best example that we've had. And so Jesus only had 12 men following him. And in the end, he didn't have but three.
Hmm.
Out of 4,000, 5,000,
Those were
and have a
people
three
coming
of
for
them.
the miracles.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The 5,000, the 4,000, they came for the miracles, but he only had 12 followers.
Here's the
Hmm.
clue. Let me give you a clue. If I had one, two, three, four, five, whoever it is listening, and you, Pastor Norman, what I wanted to show you during that time when you were with us, and it wasn't meant for that time at moment, I was going to show you how to enter in to the experience that you already were of being Him.
Mhm.
If I could get everybody that's listening to us now, during that moment, or even now, I would take people like you, Miss Linda, Marvita, uh, all of you guys that are listening, that are teaching about, or talking about the non doing self. You would be excellent in a school, on the board of a school of enlightenment and waking up. I would make you, I mean, in a non egotistical way, I would bring you in and I would cause you to be that. Now that you already are. Now a mentor is not picked by the student. The mentor picks the student.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Now
Exactly.
Mhm.
I would, when I said to you, you'd have to go to sleep. I mean, you got to go to sleep to this world
To this world.
and be
Mm.
awake fully in your
Mhm.
home place inside of you.
And then you find that doesn't mean that the materialities
Mhm.
won't come to you.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It would 50 years it took this for us to come to this point. The pain that is that once you start into this, you will come across signs and wonders and miracles. And the signs and wonders and miracles is not so much the healing the sick and raising the dead, but the signs, the wonders and miracles is one waking up to a huge degree. I know
Hmm.
some people that already know this and they haven't even been around in a teaching like this.
True.
They came here like that, and so did us. But I wish that the pain and the loneliness that I feel of not being able to do this. I don't know at my age or our time between now 70 and 80 or whatever. Uh, this thing is still there, and I see it when I go to the stores. I see it on the telephone. I see it in the car. I see it sporadically, and and I'm hearing. I hear sometimes this is it. It's finished as far as the brick and mortar. But some say no. I don't know. I don't care, but I do care because it's been grooved into me what it feels when all your senses are in direct communication. It's like baby girl. She knows certain sounds, and I can say these things now, and she'll. I don't care how sick she is, or how she feels. She'll come up. She'll wake up, and if I mention it now, just a few things, she'll jump. There is a word of God that you and I are, and everybody listening. All I have to do is say one word, and this word is was written over the top of the head of the priest. There was a word that Jesus used in Hebrew, Aramaic, the lithikumi, that was part of a word. There are sacred words that can be spoken from your infinite self through your physical anatomy that will immediately switch you over
Mm-hmm.
into being him in experience, not being him in just knowing
or imagining
or in
it.
imagination. That's the reason why in my marriage ceremonies, when I get to do a wedding, I tell them when they take the communion and they face each other, I said, this is the last time. They may not understand it. This is the last time you're going to see each other like this.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you something personal. In my personal experience with this lady beside me, I know what it's like in intimacy for me to leave my body and have an out-of-body experience in intimacy and go into her and she come over and be in me. I used to go to a place in the spirit when I was ministering to people, and I didn't think anybody else could get in that door at the moment, but she slipped in. And I asked her, I said, what you doing in here? But
Yeah, I
she'd been
remember that.
around me. Here's another one.
And
If-
can I say
Yeah, go
what
ahead.
it,
I'll stop.
what
I'll
it
stop.
felt like
I'll stop.
when you were ministering that day, and I slipped into that
I'll
place.
stop.
I don't know. I do know how I got there.
Yeah.
You said to us during this service, you said, if you all would follow me into the vision,
Mm-hmm. Track me.
track me into
Mhm.
the vision, you would see and experience what I'm experiencing.
Yes. That's empathic.
So it was I switched over from being an onlooker
Mm-hmm.
to actually being you doing it. And
Nowadays, people call that channeling, but
yeah,
it's not.
and I actually, everything you said you saw and everything you said you
You
felt,
see it.
I took it on myself.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
As if I was standing there ministering to that person. And
Yes.
all of a sudden, I just slipped into that place.
Yeah.
And you recognized me.
Yeah.
That's what oneness really is.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
Exactly.
what oneness really is.
Exactly.
Mhm.
But now we're teaching you that whether you hit the switch or not,
And I
You're there.
have to say this too, that what I saw in the inner vision at that moment was I landed in a room
Mhm.
without walls.
Mhm.
It was absolutely white. And there was nothing in that room but knowledge.
Yeah, knowing.
Now
Knowing.
you just described again, and y'all should be familiar with this. My all-time favorite movie, The Matrix. That's exactly what happened in the movie.
That's right. And that
There
was
was
so
total
close.
Yeah, you're right.
That
You're
was a
right.
hairline-
white room,
That was it.
and the guy
was it.
that overseen all of the knowledge and
Mhm.
wisdom was called
Yeah.
the architect.
Yep.
The architect.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. He
And,
became
and
the architect.
that actually happened. I actually saw the place or the dimension of knowing. I saw it.
Mhm.
And you were in it. Not in the sense that you were occupying it, but you were in the dimension of it. And it's like when I slipped into that, I slipped into you, I slipped into
Yeah.
that.
Okay, here's a metaphor. Get your glove. Put that glove on the way it's supposed to be in your right hand. Now, that symbolizes you are in the physical sense world, the glove on the outside.
Mhm.
Take the glove off, put it from the back, and turn it inside out. You are now the Christ.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But even though you have the glove on positionally the way it's supposed to be worn, you're still the Christ, but it's not consciously aware of on the outside like that glove is. In the spirit world, you entered into this body like a hand went inside of a glove.
Yep.
You fit perfectly,
Yeah.
filling out every toenail, atom, molecule, whatever cue ball in the right side pocket. I don't care what it is.
Mhm.
I'm telling you some of the mystical secrets of how I found out. When I used to see some of you guys study the healing lady Catherine Kuhlman.
Mm-hmm.
Go and study her as much as you can about the moments on stage when she was teaching. I watched videos over and over again, and I could tell when Catherine Kuhlman would say, "It is not me that's doing this.
Mm-hmm.
You know who it is."
Mm-hmm.
I saw her when she stood on the stage and she would touch one person and the whole row would buckle their knees.
Mm-hmm.
That was not trying to prove power. It was the love, this
Mhm.
awesome love that we are, would break down the ego like a baby in a crib.
Now I know we've been on for more than an hour, but
Yeah, we have.
I wanted to say this too, that I know this from living with you and watching you minister all these years. Some people, when they minister to others, they stand in this over here and they minister to that person over there. And they do it as a separate being from that person. God showed me, God told me about this for you.
Mhm.
There is no real connection.
No.
But I know from looking at you, watching you all of these years, your place of ministry is not that way. That your mode of ministry is not that way. When you stand before a person or sit near a person or you begin to talk to a person, you literally do what I did that day by becoming them.
Yeah, exactly.
And you will see very particular specific details of their life, not as a image coming to you so much, but because you all of a sudden became them.
Yeah.
And you feel them. You
Mhm.
feel them,
Mhm.
you see what they see, you experience what they experience. And a lot of times you'll say, I'm in your house.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many instances that I could go into, but you do it from the place of union, joining with that
Yeah.
person.
Oneness.
Mhm.
And there's not a lot of people that I've witnessed that minister from that place. And not to put you on a pedestal by any means, but that's just your mode. That's the
Mhm.
mode. It has always been the theme of our life has always been union. It has always been.
Here's a clue:
And
unfathomable, no common sense love.
Mhm.
If you're going to do it to make sense to somebody, you'll never do it. Because what you are as infinite does not make any sense to the left brain.
It's true.
mhm.
And that's not to put the left brain down because we need to have that to function. And it's what if I was totally left brain like she is, I probably would be.
I'm not totally left.
Well, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Look,
I'm kind of whole brain.
Okay. Get upset if you want to.
I'm not upset.
Well, yeah, whatever you want to do, it's your. You're all right. You don't want to cook for me.
You're not all right brained either.
I ain't.
No.
I ain't.
No, you ain't.
Yes, I is. But anyway, I'm just cutting it with you. I want to say this to you. Blessings mean multiply. When he blessed the loaves and the fish, that meant that it was growing. One fish, 2 loaves of fish, whatever he had.
It was multiplying, yes.
When they took one out or 2 out and gave it to another one, before they could get to another person, the other portion was created in the basket.
Mhm.
The awesome respect that you have of this oneness with Christ and everybody else. You were inside of Peter, James, and John, inside of Christ. You were inside of David and inside of Goliath, the big giant. You were inside of everybody that you mentioned in the Course in Miracles and the sages and the teachers of the Course, as well as those who translated the book. You will always be the essence of God. Hell cannot hold that imagination of fire and brimstone to the degree that it would wipe out your eternal essence. It can't do it. There's no such thing as you being wiped out. I'm grateful to you that you allowed me to see him and hear him today. Oh my God. This presence is awesome. With all due respect, I know who I'm talking to on this site. I know you. We met. We talked about this before coming here.
Mhm.
And we agreed in the council room with our facilitators that one day on a Thursday afternoon at 12:30, we would be talking at each other at thousands of miles of distances, and yet not lose 1 ounce of being each other's real self. I drop my head and bow to you, O Lord, as the Savior in each one of us, the eternal essence of the breath of God. And with the kiss of God on the inside of us,
Mhm. Mhm.
I say amen.
Amen.
I wasn't gonna say nothing until you said it in your statement just now about us being thousands of miles of
Ooh.
distance. I
Mm.
heard earlier in that state of oneness, there is no space
Mm.
or distance.
It's not.
It's none. And it what the Lord was showing me was there have been times again because I am a product of your ministry. There have been times when I would minister to people in the area of miracles and so forth and so on. That and y'all know Earl. Earl would say to me, he said, "I promise you, you had looked and acted and sound just like Bishop Smith."
Mhm.
Mm.
So I said that because when you understand oneness, there is no distance or
It's
space.
no distance.
None.
You
There's also Pastor Norman, no personality
Yeah,
exactly,
that's
differences.
true. That's true.
You're not moving from
No
personality.
personality
Mm-mm.
distance.
exactly.
Not moving from personality, but
Uh,
from absolute beingness. And we at that moment become the reincarnation of Christ. And well, I tell you this, and I know we've got to go, but it amazes me now because we've touched audiences that are not necessarily churched.
Mhm.
And it amazes me now that there are thousands of people who proclaim to have taken on that Christ,
mhm.
but don't know the one who came to show us the Christ.
Mm.
And I wonder at that. I think about how can you claim to be the Christ and not even acknowledge the one who came to show us the Christ.
Mhm.
That man called Jesus, and I'm not here to proselytize, but that man called Jesus is the one that introduced us to the
Mhm.
Christ.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And how do you find the Christ without that? Without
Exactly.
that one, without acknowledging that one? And that has always baffled me. I can't quite understand that. And even to the point, some who have claimed to know and be the Christ have also an aversion toward anything religious,
Mhm.
anything that's Christian, anything that resembles Jesus Christ. And
Mhm.
so it just really baffles me that great gap has not been
I
crossed.
wish I could get everybody that we've spoken to online since we've been in these classes together in a physical place. And all I want to do is look at Jesus, the Christ, love each
Mhm,
other,
mhm, mhm,
and just being
mhm,
around each other.
mhm.
And I could hear ourselves saying, we finally see each other in the physical.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
But at the
yeah.
same time, Miss Linda, thank you. Marvita and all Deb and all you guys, Pastor Norman, thank you for being who you are. Thank you for all the faults and mistakes that you seem to see. Thank you for not allowing them to interfere with your connection with the Christ.
Mhm.
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 You guys are good at what you're doing, and you need to know that you are fully, I don't care what it is that you think is not there, you're there.
Mhm.
You're there. You're there. And there's no one like you but him.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Wow. Great, powerful session today.
Yeah.
Thank
Yes,
you. Thank you. Thank you.
very enlightening.
Thank you, Pastor Norman, for everything you said and everything that you brought to the table. And we pray to see you guys again next week, provided nothing changes. Uh,
Uh,
and
you
you
won't see
got
me
something
next.
you got to do next week?
I'll be
That's
leaving out.
okay.
I
That's okay.
actually, unless I make it to my destination, but I'm heading out of town on Thursday.
Okay, that's fine. But we'll be here, and then Pastor Norman, when he gets back in a position where he can be on with us, will be back with us. But we'll see you again next Thursday at 12:30 for impromptu. And in the meantime, you can check back on us, check back with us on Sunday. What you got? Something else? What?
Day before yesterday, while I was asleep, I had a chance to. Oh, my baby come. I had a chance to meet some of my old family members on the other side. The names of them I could call out. I had a chance to see them, and it was revealed to me that all of them, the worst ones in my family, is on the other side, and I'll get a chance to see them.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked up to them in that place, and I called them by name: Celie, Frank, all of them. The names of my family, her family, they all in a big reunion. I saw her mother on the other side one time serving communion,
Mm-hmm.
but the communion that she was giving out wasn't so much as wine. In the cup she was giving out for them to drink was light, eternal life, liquid substance. They were drinking light body food.
Mhm.
Now, how you work that, I don't know. But I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you for
Thank you
visiting us.
guys for tuning
Thank you for
in,
coming in with us, okay?
Yes, yes,
and
yes,
we
yes.
will see you next week. Uh, I think I'm changing my picture here. I think I
Yes.
changed it. But we will see you
Oh,
next week.
Lord.
I got carried away here. Yeah, there we go. Um, we will see you next week,
Yeah,
and you
we'll see
guys be
Sunday
blessed.
morning.
We'll be back on Sunday morning at 10 for
Yeah.
Cornerstone. And then Pastor Norman, of course, will be around.
11
Okay.
at
Thank
11.
you, Pastor Norman. We love you.
We love you. You're welcome.
Linda says thanks for everything, for traveling together today on the journey less journey.
Yeah,
Like
We love
that.
you too,
that's the
Linda.
way you tie it down, girl.
Bye, guys.